So my point to you would just be this. Moral consequentialism, looking at the consequence of one's actions to determine its moral value. If we look at what happens with incest, I'll defer to the National Institute of Health that found that firstly, the highest countries that have incest are Arabia, right? You can dispute in other countries as well. However, they're doing it because culturally and religiously, they are Muslim. They uphold to a religion that has allowed this for centuries. Now, if you look at these countries, they also live in areas where they don't value kids with deformities, right? So you're on this industrial scale, allowing for the inbreeding of children, causing deformities, then living in societies that don't value them as human, then leaving them at a huge disadvantage. Now, if I was a god, heaven forbid, I would commonly look towards what is the best for an individual person, and from there make moral prescriptions. And in which case, I would never command something that en masse would cause for the deformities of, my creation.
Can I speak now?
Yeah, go on.
So your whole argument was that Islam is bad because it's a bit backwards in certain areas. And so the whole conclusion is that as soon as we get more advanced in these areas, you will have no argument for Islam.
No, you advance out of Islam, that's the point.
No.
Yes, you are.
Out of marriage and...
Child marriage, cousin marriage, great.
Blah, blah,
two
blah.
things that Islam allows...
cousin.
Okay, cousin and child marriage. Two things that you allow
Now you're interrupting me.
Yeah,
now
of course.
You're interrupting me.
Because you posed the question on what I said.
No, I did not finish. So the whole way to dismember this, completely take out your argument, is that as soon as the villagers back in these Muslim countries advance, get the infrastructure to stop marrying their cousins, so they can visit they can see other.
You're assuming that Islam
is... Don't interrupt, please.
Okay,
I didn't
great.
interrupt you. So as soon as that happens, your whole argument is mute.
No,
and also, I'm not finished.
Yeah.
And that would mean that Islam is the best, and that Christianity is rubbish for society because, and this is what you won't argue, you will never face this argument, is that Christianity has been stamped over, put on the floor, spat over, first by the Roman Empire.
If you start speaking about Christianity like that again, I'll say things about your prophet.
Okay, sorry about that. So it was trampled by the Roman Empire, and then it was trampled by these Western European countries. What happened with they realized the corruption from the Roman Empire was too much, so they became Protestant. They started protesting.
That was not the reason, by the way.
Calvin and Martin Luther and the Roman Empire is doing too much in Christianity.
Do you know Martin Luther didn't want to split from the church?
I will let you come back as soon as I'll finish right now. So the reason, and you know that Christianity will never be a society that humans can go behind, is because Christianity, in effect, in practice, has no use.
Okay.
It was taken over by the secular world a long time ago.
Can I respond now? Great. So firstly, if you speak about my holy religion like that again, I will speak down to your prophet, because there's a lot of material there. Firstly, I'm Eastern Orthodox. I largely don't care about what the West does in terms of schisming. In fact, if you look at the works of John Calvin and Martin Luther, they actually give huge admiration towards the Eastern Orthodox, saying that... Wait.
First point I made.
Yeah, I'm going to go do that. So your first response just gives this assumption that Islam is not archaic and it's actually compatible with this advancement within morality. It's not, because you haven't proved it. You've just said, and you've done something that, by the way, if you want to talk about schisms, Islam has deeply been against what you've just done. You've exegeted the text based on your common sense, your intellect, your fitra, and superseded that with a traditional way that the Muslims would have read this. You've already agreed to the premise that Islam allows for these things, but rather it's just not advisable. However, there are still communities, can we agree, mostly in Arabia, that still use cousin marriage. They still do it, even though they are perfectly able to migrate, and according to you, they're not sinning. So you're simply assuming that Islam is compatible with this concept of modernization, when it really isn't. When we look at the West, and again, interruption, if you look towards the West, what you see is people still marrying their cousins. I know many people within the Muslim community that are still the product of incest. So they're still doing it, and they're not going against their God in doing so. Unless you want to admit that God is committing a sin, and that God is prescribing one thing for one people at one time and another time. No, because you spoke about my holy faith, which now I have to defend. Great. So firstly, if you know anything about Protestant history, you get taught this in year 7. Martin Luther never wanted to split from the church. He had an issue with, yes, the corruption, and he had some issues with the veneration of the saints and purgatory. However, he never wanted to split from the church. He never wanted a schism. That's my first thing. My second thing, I'm Eastern Orthodox. The Protestant community, by and large, the reformers, greatly respected, and they said, John Calvin said that you have never seen better worshippers and more faithful Christians than the Greeks, than the Eastern Orthodox Christians. So they share great admiration and unity with the Orthodox Church, because in their eyes they see themselves as like the Western Orthodox. So in terms of division, I could even point to, do you know what the Melchizedelites were? They were butchered, but by the Sunni, they're extinct. So certain schools of thought within yeah, so I think there are major schisms within Islam. I mean, look at the Ahmadis, for example. They're majorly persecuted by the Sunnis.
They're not even Muslim, though.
Pardon?
They're not even Muslim.
Okay, and there are certain Christians that would say certain other Christian groups aren't Christians.
No, but they're really not. They follow another prophet after.
Okay, and I can say that other Protestant reformers are just following and idolizing other people who would later innovate their faith. What's the problem there?
It would be like saying there's another Jesus or something.
No, that's like me saying that other people that they idolize, there's other people that these men idolize to follow and divide.
To answer your first question, that cousin marriage is still happening. What do you want these communities to do? Die out?
Rather than inbreeding, yeah, absolutely. If you're so incredibly lustful,
so you want
and
God
cardinal
to say to these people, die out.
Okay, if you're so cardinal that you can't resist fucking your cousin, I would largely recommend you stop breeding.
The only woman that you can marry in this village.
Do you honestly think Arabia is just backwards? Do you honestly think, and even in the UK we still see these practices kept?
Yeah, but that's because
in Luton, I think it's like
Bradford and these areas. Because these guys are backwards.
Yeah, because they're following their religion.
No, they're following culture.
No, they're following their religion.
Following, let's keep the money in the family.
Religion begets culture.
No, what does let's keep the money in the family, which they are thinking, where does that lead to? It leads to let's also keep the DNA in the family, and then
you're also holding to the same.
Yeah, you'll be like
also the same coach. Okay, so firstly,
keeping your DNA in the family.
Yeah, you'll be like those Pharaoh, like the Queen and them families there.
Exactly, and this is what your religion preaches.
No, that's why it stops.
No, okay, show me a source that says this. We're still largely assuming
Ijma.
this. Where is the ijma?
Google it.
No, you Google it, my friend. You're making the claim.
ChatGPT.
What, you honestly want to use ChatGPT as a viable source? Do you even know how large language model works?
You just did it with the other
No,
question.
I didn't.
You asked
No, I
question.
Yeah, I asked Google because firstly, Google has access to the internet.
Why would your argument be when someone explains to you rationally, you say, go and get me the delete? Why would you ask
Because the burden of proof on you is, if you make a claim, the burden of proof is on you to prove it.
I've proven it to you.
No, you've just said there's an ijma. Imagine if I said to you there's an ijma that proves Muhammad's a false prophet. You would have certainly want me to give that.
What the hell are you talking? Did you even hear what he said?
Yeah, of course.
So you realise that was stupid?
Yeah, I've gave an absurd statement to demonstrate how absurd your methodology in a discussion is. You've just asked.
Is this guy just arguing to argue?
No, of course not. When you claim something.
What was that? Because first of all, you came to the cousin marriage topic by going into which philosophy is good for you, for the humans. And
please prove to me that. Please prove to me that these scholars believe this. Please prove to me.
I told you I don't have the time or the will to do that.
Do you not have the will?
Yourself.
Why not? Because you're the one making the claim. I can't be looking
You're the one asking the question, so go find out the answer.
Of course. I'm asking all great Muslim. Please, you hold to this position.
I'm not very great.
Okay, all dear believing Muslim, you hold to this position. We're having this engaged discussion.
My answer was Google it.
Okay, so at the moment you're not aware of any ijma that says this?
I literally, what? Any ijma? What does that mean?
Any group of scholars that hold to this position?
No.
Okay.
Ijma means consensus.
Yeah, of course. So there are scholars that hold to this position, right?
Yes.
Okay, name me a scholar that holds to this position.
Google it.
Okay, there's a consensus and you cannot name one. Because I'm not aware of this
Well, I know
consensus.
these scholars' names, bro.
You know, okay, a consensus is a majority opinion, right?
So you want me to say?
So give me one man within this majority.
I don't know their names. And I don't even.
You don't know the names of the. So
I would Google it the
you're
same way
aware.
you would Google it.
You're aware of a majority of people that you don't know
I would
exist.
Google it the same
of
way
the
you would
names that you
Google
don't know exist. Well, I'm not the one
The
who.
reason why I know.
I don't have a
The reason why I
prerequisite.
know is the majority.
Okay.
Is because it's mainstream Islam.
Can you,
all of us
can you
know
give me like a
mainstream
name of a mainline scholar that would hold to this position?
No.
So you don't know any?
And is that what you keep sticking?
Could you give me a name of a scholar in Islam?
Holy cow.
Pardon?
Is that where we
Just give me a name of a scholar.
I don't have any names to give you.
So no, even a scholar that exists within Islam, could you give me one?
Oh, why would you want that?
Because I just want to test if you actually know what you're talking about.
Okay, well I don't know.
So you don't.
Out of my ass.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
I would largely read it because, of course, like Christ says, and he says that you should know them from the proofs.
Do you want to go back to why the question of why Sharia is best for society?
Oh, we can go to Christianity because it seems like you don't know what you're talking about. It's Islam.
But you haven't even. No one would ever make any arguments for Christianity. No
Okay.
one.
Okay. Do you want to give your arguments against Christianity?
That's why you spoke about cousin marriage.
Okay. Go again.
Because you can't promote.
Argue against Christianity
You
for me.
cannot promote Christianity.
Argue against me Christianity.
Now you want me?
Yeah, give an argument against Christianity. If you think it's so easily
promote
refuted.
Christianity?
Okay, my argument for this, the prophecies within the Old Testament pointing towards the cross is sufficient proof enough to believe the
Society.
biblical Christ.
Why is it good for society?
Why is it good for society? Okay, what is good is God. God has given us these revelations. I can prove that to you through biblical prophecy. There you are.
Sorry, Christianity is good for society because?
Because God has given it to us. And the reason why it is God that has given us these things is because of prophecy.
Do you have any benefits from Christianity for society?
Having one wife and one husband, orphanages that started through the Christian faith, which, by the way, you guys are
Can we do any
abrogated.
of these things without Christianity?
Well, you wouldn't have had orphanages without the church, no.
There will be no orphanages without churches.
Yeah, the banning of abortion as well.
Buddhists and Hindus don't have orphanages.
Yeah, they didn't start without the church. What about abortion? You guys allow for abortion?
There was no orphanage in the world before Christianity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What claim? What's the evidence for that?
Yeah, if you look within the saintly works, the way that orphanages started was that you would find people on the streets. If you look at the dedicated,
What's the proof that there was no
Yeah, I can show you.
in Africa and China
Well,
before Christianity?
I can't prove a negative claim.
Well, there you go.
Of course.
You can't prove the positive.
But yeah, you can prove the positive. When did orphanages start? Which would be
When did orphanages start?
Yeah.
From these guys.
No. The question is, where did the concept itself started?
You can't prove that because you
Yes,
said
you
can't prove the
can.
negative.
Because if you can't prove a negative, rather what you're proving in the positive is, I don't know, archaeological evidence of churches
I'll
holding
give you
churches.
that. All orphanages started from Christianity. I'll
Great.
give you that.
Okay, great.
Anything else?
Abortion. We are the only faith that have a strong line of being against abortion. Islam allows for abortion depending on your school of thought, like the Hanbali, like 120. For some, it's 75, and it comes from a hadith, which I think actually brings a contradiction within your religion. But I won't go there.
And Hindus and Buddhists don't do abortion either.
They permit for abortion. Yeah.
What's the argument?
Abortion is vile. It's evil.
What's the argument?
It's
Continue arguing.
Okay, abortion. Well, do we not agree abortion is a bad thing?
Sorry, no. I thought you said you were promoting abortion.
No, we're against it.
Against it.
We're the only religion against abortion.
That's actually a bad thing for society.
Yeah, abortion's a bad thing, right?
No. That thing that Christianity is promoting is bad for society.
What, being against abortion?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you need abortion in some areas.
Like what?
Like medical, like.
But that's not the reason why Islam. That's not the reason. That's not the reason why Islam allows for abortion. It's because they give this theological understanding.
Why does he keep talking about Islam?
No, because I am comparing.
Why are you
the
comparing
other
when we're talking,
okay.
when you're meant to promote Christianity?
Because
why are you promoting?
you're giving reasons
Because you're not
that
comparing
other
with
religion.
Buddhism
Okay.
or Hinduism. Why, stop
Great.
comparing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the reason why I did so was because of this fact.
All I'm saying is
Christianity,
promote
Christianity allows for abortions in the case of it being medically necessary. However, other religions permit abortions for other reasons. We are the only religion in the world.
Christianity does promote abortion, allow
In a
abortion.
medical necessary case, yes. Because it's considered a form of self-defense.
So what about in cases of rape?
And in cases of rape, if you look at statistically speaking, it's actually better for the mother to have to not have an abortion in the case of rape.
Okay, so
And in
you
fact,
would-
do you know?
you would fall force rape victims
I've got a question.
to keep their babies.
Question for question, tick for tack.
Yeah.
Do you believe that somehow?
Answer the question.
I've just answered your question.
You would force rape victims to keep their babies.
Unfortunately, yes. Okay. Now, can I answer your question? Can I ask you a question? Do you believe the moral worth of a fetus is determined by the circumstance of its delivery or birth or conception?
No.
Okay, great. So what is the difference between the fetus of a rapist and the fetus of someone who is consented in sex? Okay, so why does your religion allow for the abortion of both innocent and rapist fetus?
Because it looks at society afterwards. So when the mother gives birth to the raped child, she might throw it in a bin.
Okay, and that's wrong, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at morality, it's not looking through, you're very much looking through the practical aspect of moral law.
Yeah.
But we are God-fearing men who assume that laws given are in the most ideal sense. So for example, it is equally wrong for a woman to have an abortion.
No,
wait, hold on, interruption.
Not ideal.
Okay.
Not working ideal.
Okay, so you think if it was
the same way humans will never be sinless.
Okay.
There's no ideal.
Would you call for a law if, for example, rape was enshrined within the culture of a tribe? Would you call for a law for legalizing rape because too many things? No, because you're saying that we should allow for abortion laws because society will still have abortions regardless of what we tell them. So, would you permit within the law if a society has a high case of rape, even if it was still enshrined in the law that you can't, would you still insist that the law should be that you can rape someone?
Your question is very hypothetical.
There's
no point answering that.
No, it's not. Why can't it? Because I'm questioning the consistency in your logic. You're saying to me that
my consistency wouldn't apply to hypothetical scenarios.
No, yes, it would. That is the very nature of a hypothetical.
So repeat it, go on.
Okay.
And what did you get from
this guy's principle is that just because people won't follow what is the best possible solution, therefore we should move drastically down to their level and allow it. It's the same.
No.
It's the same argument that the people on the left give for drug regulation.
Arguing against God. This is what you're doing.
Abortion.
So what you're doing when you're arguing against God is, God says this is ideal. This is how you should act. However, this is the actual real life.
But you've just said to me,
real life is not this. Real life is this.
You've just said to me that it is not a sin to have abortion. It's not a sin to marry your cousin. Those two things.
Sorry?
Abortion. Yeah.
It's not a sin to you?
Yeah. In Islam.
No.
What's your school of thought?
There's the consensus again.
What's your school of thought?
Is that it's allowed for some.
No, it's not applied for some. It's some days. 75 to 120.
Yeah.
What school of thought do you hold to?
No. Those scenarios.
What school of thought do you hold to?
only be able to do it in those days.
What school of thought do you hold to?
You understand what I said?
What school of thought do you hold to?
So for these
I can tell you your position.
I heard you. For these scenarios, you would have to apply these dates. Anything after these dates, 40 days is it? You're not allowed to.
No, it's a 75 to 120.
You won't be able to.
Okay. Do you know why abortion is permitted within Islam? Do you know the underlying rationale?
At that age, the fetus has developed his brain.
No, it's the soul.
It's a human.
No, no. So there are two hadiths transmitted by Ibn Kathir that talk about the soul.
So do you see how Islam always is with the common sense?
No, it's not. Because I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you something.
You can't argue against God. You can't argue against God.
Of course I am. Because your God's incredibly.
After this, let's go into Sharia and why Sharia is from God.
Great.
Let's
so
go to that.
There are two hadiths narrated that talk about the underlying justification for why abortion is permitted within Islam. It talks about the when the soul is within the fetus, right? Now, the common philosophical understanding of the soul is the principle of material life, the ultimate thing that fuels the material body. Now, interesting. So, a soul is the principle of material life. If you don't have a soul, technically you're not living, right? So if you're telling me that the soul is not yet in the fetus until the 70-day or 120-day mark, you're going to have to tell me that the fetus is not living, it's dead. Now, science would tell you that the fetus is in fact living. So I said to you, the reason why Islam permits abortion is because of two hadiths. The soul. Now, the soul is the principle of material life. Every living thing has a soul.
It wasn't alive.
Yeah, that's what my point is. So prior to the 120 days and 70 days, the soul would have been clinically dead.
True.
So the fetus is dead in your eyes.
The fetus before the soul is basically just a body bag.
So you think that a fetus? So what scientist would agree with you that a fetus is technically dead?
It's dead alive.
What the hell does that mean?
Like a clone.
There is no. Okay, firstly, unique DNA within the fetus.
It's just meat growing in a lab.
Okay, firstly, unique DNA. Secondly, living. Thirdly, there's nothing that biologically changes between those days.
Until the soul.
Okay, do you understand that your skin cells are living, right?
Does it have a soul?
It's a part of me, so yes.
So where's the soul?
Yeah, it's a part of myself.
So where's the soul?
The soul is something that is immaterially inside myself.
Skin doesn't have a soul.
Yeah, but it's a part of me.
So just because you've got skin doesn't mean you're alive.
By virtue of the fact that the skin cell is a part of the whole, which is myself, it possesses a soul.
As a Christian, are you disagreeing with a body is just a body without a soul?
Well, a fetus, if the body is dead, it has no soul. If the fetus is alive, it has a soul. So this is how clinically brain dead Islam is. You actually think that
we're not doing that.
No, because you originally did that, and of course you've now just told me, and you've legitimized the mass butchering of innocent human people en masse. So you've just told me that a fetus, right, at its very conception is dead. No scientist would ever agree with you.
Abortion is only allowed in certain scenarios.
No, okay, if you agree
Number two, in those certain scenarios,
you're still saying it's clinically dead.
Is those days.
You've still clinically told me this fetus is dead according to you.
So there is no mass butchering because it's only in certain scenarios.
What's the abortion rate here in the UK? It's 48%. That is nearly
secular.
It's also according to Islam, because Islam is not talking about abortion. You live in a society whilst you're allowing for these things to happen.
No,
48%, including the Muslim community.
We agree with Christianity.
No, you don't. You allow for it.
We agree with.
You allow for it. In fact, you go so far in trying to prove that it's legitimate that you're going against science.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You guys are barbaric. For not allowing certain scenarios, it's barbaric.
Like what?
You don't understand that?
Because I value.
So
I value the fetus of a rapist.
A child, a female girl like this old, who's been violated, to carry and give birth to a baby.
Of course, if it's viable to do so. Okay.
You don't see how that's barbaric.
You're confusing the quality of life to the right to life. Whether your right to life is contingent upon the quality of life.
What is this girl supposed to do with the baby?
One second. Okay.
Is she supposed to love the baby?
What you're doing is confusing the quality of life to the right to life.
You know, that's where the word bastard came from.
Pardon?
Bastard were actually
I would rather be a bastard than be dead. Right? I hope we can all agree that I'd rather be a bastard and ridiculed within society than actually still be breathing.
But that's the bastards that stay alive. That's the bastards that grow up.
Hold on. One second.
So there's no
I'd rather live
guarantee that you would live.
Yeah, of course. But just because there's no guarantee.
The same thing you are arguing about cousin marriage and deformed children is the same argument for bastard children.
Yeah, but I don't kill deformed children.
But abortion does that. Get thrown in a bin.
Yeah, but abortion does the very same thing that we're both against.
Yes.
Killing people for the quality of their life.
Rather stop the child from being born before the soul
Show restraint for 1 minute. You're confusing the quality of life to the right to life. Now, using the same logic, we could just get the firing squad out in some deprived country in Africa where they're starving and start shooting them because, might as well, they're going to have this poor, consistent quality of life, so might as well get rid of their right to life to begin with. Now, before you interrupt, you are saying that although there is no moral difference
in this case,
of course I'm accepting the moral.
Mental, physical, psychological torture for the woman.
You actually know there are studies that found that if you there's been studies in America that found that there's a 4x chance. Pardon? No. There is a 4x chance of you committing suicide if you had an abortion in conjunction with a rape. Do you know why? Because most women who have this maternal sense of taking care of children, after the abortion, regret having it. Because although they know it is of the offspring of a rapist, they can still appreciate there's a unique human life that they could have mothered. And most women are instinctually mothers. So in fact,
Islam says
you can butcher people.
You can't unalive your baby just because it's going to come out.
That's not true. Show me a source.
Down syndrome.
Not true.
You can't kill your baby.
Not true.
But medical or extreme.
I'm telling you this now, it's not true. There was a medical study done at Hanbali School of Thought, and it was talking about the medical application of abortion. and its underlying justification for why they permit abortion within Islam. And the consistent theme within it is that the reason why abortion is permitted is not because of the circumstances by which a baby is conceived, but rather the philosophical understanding of when we start valuing what is a human. Now, if we present an argument that the reason why we allow for abortions is because we give no moral legitimacy to fetuses that do not exhibit a soul, then it shouldn't be circumstantial. It should just be we're allowed to abort the thing because we don't give it any moral value across the board.
Well, the moral value came from God.
Pardon?
Moral value comes from God.
Yeah, which according to you comes from the soul.
So you as a human cannot make up your own morality.
But I can tell you that any God that says I'm allowed for abortions en masse is a completely vilified, evil, fictitious God.
So it's not en masse, is it?
Pardon?
It's not en masse.
Yes, it is.
You want it to be, again.
No, I don't.
You guys, you always reframe things just to add a deception in there. Anyway, going back to promoting Christianity,
Yeah.
you said it stops abortion.
Yeah.
What else?
I'm still waiting for your argument against Christianity, by the way.
I'm still waiting for you to say one more
Yeah,
thing.
so the reason why I believe Christianity is so it promotes monogamy, the concept of one husband, one wife. It's extremely beneficial. It promotes abortion.
Is that from Christianity?
Of course, yes. Christ says in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 7.
Chinese don't marry monogamously?
Okay, but the ones that were promoting it, especially in traditions where they had concepts of like polygamous marriages between more than one husband and more than one wife, was from 1 Corinthians 7, where it talks about the legitimacy and roles of marriage.
I'll give you the monogamy and
because
abortion.
if you look at
what is the benefit of Christianity for society?
Disciples young men and young women into appreciating one another, into appreciating the value of children. In terms of charity, the church is a voluntary social communion.
Okay, and that's it.
Yeah.
Three points you got.
Well, those are one of the several points that I have. Now, I'm going to invite you to critique Christianity.
So,
what's
I'm
your...
going to invite myself to compare that with Sharia.
All right.
Okay. This is peanuts. It's like saying Harry Potter community and their values.
If you start saying that, I'll rip the crap out of your prophet. If you start saying that.
What do you mean, rip?
Because your prophet, and again, you say
rip what? What did I rip? And what are you going to rip?
I'll rip the fact that your prophet was en masse raped by a bunch of jinns, that he sexually assaulted a 9-year-old.
Before you get into rubbish, what have I said that you want to?
Yeah, you were comparing my moral framework of Christianity to Harry Potter. You start doing that, I'll say that your prophet was raped en masse. I'll say to you that your prophet sexually assaulted a 9-year-old, widowed her at 18.
Where do you go from there then?
Pardon?
Why would you go into prophet was raped by whatever?
Well, a bunch of jinns, yeah.
So where are we supposed to go from there if you go into that?
Well, because, again, the slight mockery of my religion won't be tolerated.
So I am comparing, forget Harry Potter, I'm comparing your religion.
Yeah, say Christianity, or I'll say not some nice things about your prophet.
Stop being so gun-ho, bro. I'm not being rude to you.
I'm not being funny, but if you say anything that defames the holy faith given to us by God.
I didn't say Jesus is being raped by whatever, so why would you go there?
Well, because it's not true.
So why would you go into gun-ho nonsense? Well,
because it's true.
Relax.
There are hadiths that talk about Muhammad being raped.
I'm comparing your religion to secular ideas like Harry Potter. If you don't like Harry Potter, let me just say secular.
Yeah, great.
There's no benefit of Christianity compared to secular ideas and philosophies.
Yeah.
If you say monogamy, abortion, and the last one was...
Wait, so secularism doesn't...
What was our last one? 3 points you made.
Not marrying a cousin, let's go with that.
No, you said monogamy, because that's not Christian value, you're not married.
Pardon? Yeah, it's taught in Leviticus.
There was monogamy, there was abortion, and the last one you said was?
Completely forgot. So let's say cousin marriage, not being against marrying a cousin.
So those 3 points are not worthy enough to be a religion followed en masse by people, and it should not be promoted.
Do you know what you're doing?
Do you
know what you're doing? You're giving this very cardinal understanding that religions have to provide something to you in order for them to be true. No, of course. God is unknowing. Whatever He decrees, whether we can prove it or not, is the ultimate will and wisdom of God. So I am not a cardinal sinner that says, what does this religion give to me in order for it to be true? I rather look at it in terms of why it is true, and then if so, submit myself.
That because you just said something profound.
I said that I'm not a cardinal sinning man where I have to look at the table and say, what are the values of this religion? What does it give it to me?
Why would you follow it if there's no values?
Because there are things that are within it that prove it to be from God. Not that
there's no values. You just said there's no values.
But look, you can give your own personal interpretation onto why one system of morality is more impactful than another. However, I don't really care. I care about what God's telling me. If I can prove that something's from God, I'm concerned more with what God is saying to me than why he is saying it to me.
No, you're concerned more with why he's saying it to you and not what he's saying to you.
No, I'm concerned by the fact that God is telling me these things.
Yeah, so
imagine it. Okay, would you question if God said to you right now?
So the why is more important than the what?
Pardon?
So the why.
No, the what is more important than the why.
No, because you said it doesn't have to have values. That's the what.
No, that is the why. The why is why is God telling me this? What does this bring to me?
Yeah. So you value that more than the.
I value more that God has told me these things. That God has told me I must follow these things rather than
more than the contents of what he's telling you.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you follow that? That's a cult.
Pardon?
That's a cult.
No, because I can prove that it's from God. You're confusing.
Prove Christianity is from God.
Exactly. Great. I will. Okay. So if we look at the prophecies within Zechariah and Isaiah. So for example,
Jews disagree.
Pardon?
Jews disagree.
Okay, and then
so
bring me a Jew.
Proof is flawed.
Bring me a Jew.
So what? Have you got any proof?
Pardon?
Do you have any other?
Yes, I'm going to exegete it stronger than a Jew. Like it's like me saying to you, a Shia.
You're going to debate the verses better than him.
Yes.
And then that makes it true.
Yeah, of course. Like if you were to go to me, a Sunni, Shia and Ahmadi all sit in a room, they're going to exegete passages in a different way. Yeah. Am I going to say, all right, I'm not going to hold to your school of thought because obviously a man disagrees with you?
Sunnis and Shias don't disagree about God.
Pardon?
They disagree about politics after.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Of course they do. Everything reflects on God. If, for example, there's some sects of Shiaism that says that Aisha's
Jews and Christians,
do you not think that
they disagree on the core, the most basic things?
Shias and Sunnis have a huge divide amongst themselves.
No, of God.
Yes, they do. They believe that they're prophet. Yes, they do. I'll prove it to you.
You're appealing to something that's not there.
No, I am. You just denying that. It's just you cutting me off in order to say it.
Are you comparing Jews and Christians versus Shias and Sunnis?
Yes. Confidently.
You should just walk away.
Or you should walk away, my friend.
If you're going there, then there's no argument.
If you okay, so the Shias believe that Muhammad was some sort of ignorant doofus that somehow married someone that was a kuffar and disbelieved in him.
Not the majority of Shias.
Oh, okay, but a Shia still holds that position nonetheless, right?
Maybe you get one donut, but not the majority.
There are some legitimate schools of thought within Shiaism.
No, you're appealing to outliers again. You always do that. You're appealing to outliers again.
I'm not appealing so much to outliers.
Majority of Shias, majority of Sunnis do not disagree
what about
God or prophet.
What about the Imams then? The successor of Muhammad. Okay, let's go to the major ones then. The succession. Well, it is, because if God is ordaining all these things and has foreknowledge of all of these things happening, then of course that reflects on their God. Everything goes back to God, my friend. That is my point to you.
That does not work. That analogy doesn't work.
Yes, it is. Does everything go back to God?
Also going back to you.
Does everything go back to God?
Also going back to you proving Christianity.
Yes, great. So the book of prophecies to Isaiah and Zechariah both talk about the messianic figure being sold for 30 pieces of silver, being God, and being persecuted by the East.
Prophecies.
Yes, great. Now, even within the pagan tradition, if you look at Plato's Republic, he says that if a perfect man were to ever exist, he should be humiliated and crucified. My argument for why the New Testament is true is because
that one there's arguments against it, but go on, I'll let you.
What the translation of crucify?
I'll let you have it. Continue.
Okay, great. So the prophecies within the Old Testament point to the New, and that is an argument for within itself for why it is true.
Okay, so your proof for Christianity is debating verses.
Yes, of course.
That's not proof, bro.
That is proof.
That's exegesis and argument.
Okay, if there is something implicitly within a passage that proves its divinity, can I not use that?
No, because you always have people arguing against you.
How can? Oh, great! I can debate them all day, like I'm doing with yourself.
Yeah, and then you'd walk away with no proof.
No, I'd walk away with the misguided people.
Walk away, no proof. You would walk away proof.
No, okay. What do you think proof is within a religion?
Is objectively verifiable.
Okay, such as what?
Such as the water is wet, the sun is hot.
No, in context of religion, because the
religion of religion, it will be like, here's a miracle from God why this religion is true.
Okay, a miracle is prophecy, right?
A miracle would be undebatable.
Okay, prophecies include
undebatable.
Are prophecies including revelation? Because miracles are something that are out of the ordinary.
From books before you.
How can guys 500 years before Christ ever existed prophesize Christ?
Yes, but then that would be the debatable thing. You'd have to have undebatable proof.
Pardon? Yes, of course. That is undebatable proof. Why would a pagan philosopher, prophets from 500 years before Christ ever existed, all point to this conceptually perfect man being sold out, persecuted, humiliated, and crucified?
But that argument falls flat on his face the same way we say Muhammad is prophesied in the Bible. And you say no.
Find me the prophecy.
Isaiah 42. You just said Isaiah. Isaiah 42.
Okay, Isaiah 42. You're going to talk about how it talks about
rebirth. The beginning of the Isaiah 42 near the end where it starts talking about Israel. Two-thirds of the page.
Okay, so
Muhammad's life story.
Isaiah 42. Do you understand? It talks about all nations, right? It's not just exclusively Arabia.
Before we go into Isaiah 42, my argument was that you take the exegesis where it's being disagreed by the people that the book came to. The same way you disagree Muhammad's prophesied, they disagree Jesus prophesied.
Okay, and
so that's not
and do you know what the beautiful thing? Do you know what the beautiful thing about debates? One side will always come out stronger than the other. One will always be proven out by the other opinion. Not two things can't be true at the same time.
Because you, for example, let's not even go into the Messiah being prophesied in the Old Testament. Even if you go into, for example, Muhammad's being prophesied in Isaiah 42, you will not be able to argue against it.
Of course, because Isaiah...
It's impossible to argue against Isaiah 42.
Isaiah 42 talks about preaching to all the nations. It's not just exclusively the Arab Peninsula.
Muhammad came to all the nations.
So did Christ and all his disciples.
Christ came to the Jews.
And all of the nations.
I have not come to except for the less.
At the time of before the fulfillment of the law. But he also tells his disciples to he also tells his disciples to baptize people in all nations in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Wasn't that added on to the text?
Pardon?
Wasn't that verse added on? And it's not
of course not. It is in the Septuagint. The Septuagint is the Greek Old Testament translation.
Sorry, that's the one not in the manuscripts original.
Well, it is in the Codex Vaticanus.
Okay, I'll give you it, but at the same time.
So you're arguing that Muhammad preached to all of the nations through agency, right? Because we wasn't physically there, right?
My argument is that if we go into Isaiah 42 and we go line by line by line by line by line until it starts talking about Israel, every line is about Muhammad.
No, it's not.
Every 2/3 of the page,
absolutely
Muhammad's life story.
Absolutely not.
So that's where we disagree. And why would you use that as evidence?
Why would I use that as evidence?
We don't use that as evidence.
Okay. Do you believe two things at the same time can be true? And I think we're just going to have to round up this discussion because it's going to get nowhere.
No. I believe that God will give you objectively verifiable.
What are the objectively verifiable things within the Quran?
Oh, you want to go there?
Go on.
We can go there. But the point of God giving you these evidences is that you can debate against the pagans who only have faith. Just believe. Just believe. Jesus died for you.
Paganism points to the cross.
Sorry?
I believe paganism points to the cross.
Pagans don't have any evidence. That's why.
No,
God gives you evidence to argue against.
You know
pagans.
that there are saints that have seen that have believed to seen. What the hell?
I'm an Englishman. Fuck you, I'm an Englishman. Fuck you, I'm an Englishman.
My friend, stop swearing. But anyways, my point would just be to you. I think this is dead.
That's why the Quran.
My point.
Every 10th verse ends with for those who think. This is a sign for those who ponder. This is a sign for those who think. This is a sign for those who understand. This is a sign for those who are wise. God is trying to get you to understand and have rational debates, logical debates with the pagans.
Of course,
because
but the pagans do you know the beautiful thing within Christianity? We have many saintly works that talk about Aristotle. One second, because I think we're going to have to round up this discussion. Because at some point,
you said you want objectively verifiable evidence for.
Great. Okay. So, my beautiful thing about Christianity is that we believe that paganism points to the cross. That there are pagan philosophers that have talked about Christ. Well, allegedly, the saints that I have to hold to in the church, some of them have seen in heaven Aristotle and Plato. That's a good example.
According to them, we can't prove it. It's not objectively verifiable. It's subjective, unverifiable. What objective verifiable evidences for Islam is too many. If you want to talk about prophecies, Muhammad's prophecies are over 100 prophecies. Majority of them come true.
Could I give a scientific inaccuracy within the Quran?
There is no scientific inaccuracy within the Quran.
Quran chapter 55, verse 22.
Let me do the category before you pick one.
Yeah, go on.
So the categories are prophecies.
Yeah.
The category is Muhammad's one miracle that we can prove today. We weren't there when he was feeding people with a little small pot or whatever. But the one miracle that we can prove is the Quran. The Quran we can prove objectively, verifiably that it was not made by humans.
Can I show a scientific inaccuracy that would prove that?
No. The scientific congruences in the Quran is one of the things that makes it miraculous.
Okay.
But there's many things.
Can we go to that one then?
Miraculous.
Can we get to that one?
You think you found one?
Yeah.
I want to show you one where.
No, because if there is like hundreds of these, we're going to be here all day.
No, there is no hundreds.
Okay.
And the hundreds you're thinking is scientific.
Can I give you one?
We don't even use the scientific.
Because I want to go to one.
Low tier people use the scientific.
Okay, great. But I want to use an inaccuracy.
Okay, before you use the inaccuracy, let me show you one proof where it proves that the Quran was not written by humans. Can I do that?
Go on.
So there's a verse that says, produce a chapter like it. Have you heard that argument?
It's ambiguous in terms of what is like the Quran.
Okay, it's not ambiguous. They've actually researched it in depth. There's articles I can give you on this that breaks down the smallest chapter, which is 10 words, and the 10 words has 27 linguistic and literary features, which is impossible for humans to do. Why?
What is like the Quran?
How would you argue 27 literary linguistic features in 10 words?
No, that doesn't give an argument towards what is the Quran.
No, I'm saying to you,
if I were to present, because you're looking at a feature of the Quran, and you're saying that this is what the Quran is like in order to compare it to other texts that will be submitted into this so-called Quranic challenge. No, if I were to submit a text, right? Let's just say.
What did you just say?
I said that you're looking at one particular feature of the Quran and saying that this is meant by the author as an example of one of the criterions for what is like the Quran.
No. I'm saying to you, this one specific feature of the Quran proves that humans did not make it.
That's not true.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
No, it's not. Because, okay, how would something out of the ordinary in terms of Arabic literature prove that it's from God?
Because
That's
you didn't get the concept. The concept
I did.
is 10 words having 27 linguistic literary features.
Yeah.
Already impossible.
That is possible.
Yeah, try it. Try it.
Okay.
Go read the article.
The fact is, if the Quran,
1,400 years they tried. It's impossible
if
to do
the
it.
Quran is a physical book in Arabic and it has these features, you can of course do the same thing with another piece of text.
Let me continue. So it's impossible, verified, to put 20.
How has it been verified?
Let me finish.
How has it been verified?
I'll give you the article, you can verify it. It's impossible to put 27 linguistic literary features in 10 words.
So how does the Quran exist?
Let me finish. And then the 10 words is the smallest chapter in the... Let me finish.
How does the Quran exist?
Let me finish. The 10 words is the smallest chapter in the Quran. The Quran has 77,797 words.
How does the Quran exist?
10 words is impossible to copy.
If it is impossible...
77,000 words is impossible.
If the Quran...
No AI can do it.
If the Quran...
No demons and aliens
the
can
Quran exists physically as a book in Arabic, then how can you say these linguistic features are impossible?
So, if you get 10 words, I went to the shop and I woke up and I came back, 10 words, try fit in 2 linguistic features in there.
No.
It will take you 2 days just to come up with 2.
Not answering my question.
It will take you infinity to come up with 27.
Not the question I asked. Right?
Do you understand the concept?
No, because your question literally renders the Quran's existence as impossible.
Exactly.
No. You think that proves something? It really doesn't, because it loads off the assumption that your argument is true in proving its divinity. So if you're saying
one of the arguments,
hello, my friend, we're gonna get nowhere. The corner's shutting, and I want to make this point very clear before we start wrapping up. If the Quran, in your eyes, what if its testimony within itself to be true is its linguistic miracles? Okay, my apologies. How can the Quran exist if these linguistical features are impossible within a text? How does the Quran exist?
The way, the verse that led researchers to this phenomenon, that it says, if you doubt this is from God, then produce a chapter like... No, it says, if you doubt this is from God, then call your helpers besides Allah and produce a chapter like it.
Again, not answering my question. How does this book exist?
That verse explains
if you say,
who made it, why, and how to disprove it.
My friend,
it's a challenge.
If you say, if you're...
So for 1,400 years,
yep.
the Arab linguists,
Yep.
the atheists, the Christians, the Jews, they all tried to take this challenge. Impossible.
Yep.
I've tried with AI, impossible.
Great. So, you not answered my question.
Yeah.
If these features are impossible within a book, how does the Quran exist?
Try it.
How does the Quran? Maybe I have to appeal to the audience here. How, if these linguistic features within this book impossibly exist, then how does the Quran physically exist within Arabic?
Because just because you cannot make a puzzle where
no, you're saying that this is impossible for this puzzle to exist.
No.
But the Quran as a puzzle exists.
No, you're misunderstanding now. It's called inimitability.
Yeah.
Meaning, imitate, inimitable.
Yes.
You cannot imitate.
Okay, but you're saying these linguistic... Are these linguistic...
So it's there. The Mona Lisa is there.
Yeah.
The International Space Station is there. But you can copy the Mona Lisa. You can copy the International Space Station.
Question, are these linguistic features, can they possibly exist in a book?
No, they're possible.
Great.
Because they're there.
So if they are possible...
Theoretically they're there. Practically you will never copy.
Okay, so theoretically, a human could produce a book like the Quran?
Theoretically, yes.
Great. So it defeats the purpose of the challenge. The purpose of the
purpose is physical.
No.
Practically, you will never be able
the
to do it.
challenge is this: a human,
and not just you, even your helpers besides Allah.
1 second.
So call your demons, call the Holy Spirit.
1 second.
Call everyone.
Yeah.
No one will be able to.
Great.
do it.
Okay. So, okay. Instead of calling the Holy Spirit, which is of course the divine third person of the Trinity, inspired by the Father, we had to call upon Muhammad, an illiterate man, in order to call forth this impossible book to exist. That's great. Well, in my eyes, that's how I believe it was compiled. However, you're saying to me, wait, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
If you don't believe this is from God,
hold on.
Call your helpers, which is why I said the Holy Spirit. Call the Holy Spirit.
1 second.
Your helpers besides Allah.
1 second.
You will never be able to.
1 second.
Do you not understand this?
So he's just said that these linguistic features within a text is theoretically possible. Now, the argument for the Quran's divinity derives from the fact that the only way that this book could exist is through being compiled by a divine entity. Now, if you're saying there's a possibility that a book like the Quran could be compiled by a man, it defeats the very nature of the argument from exclusivity. That's the point. You're saying that if
that's a low tier.
Here's the dilemma. Here's the dilemma, ladies and gentlemen. If the Quran's features are impossible, then the Quran can't exist. If the Quran's linguistic features can exist, then a book like the Quran can exist, therefore it defeats...
on something that's obvious.
Pardon?
Why are you trying to muddle the waters on something that's obvious?
No,
let me finish.
Okay.
Obviously, the challenge is produce a chapter like it.
Yep.
You will never be able to produce a chapter like it because the impossibility is you can't fit 10 words, you can't fit 27 linguistic features in 10 words. Impossible.
Okay, so is it...
The Quran has it.
Okay.
You, AI, aliens,
Great.
demons, no one will be able to match it.
Okay.
That's the challenge from the Quran.
Okay, great. So,
and that's one of the miracles why we say it's from God.
Great.
And no humans can ever match it.
Great.
And it proves that humans did not make this book.
Great. So here's my dilemma. Here's the challenge for this.
And you can't muddy the waters on it. That's clear cut.
Let me see.
Objectively verifiable evidence.
So impossible just means it can't exist, right?
Why are you doing modeling? What's the semantics of it?
Okay, great. I won't ask you questions. I'll just say it to the camera. Possible can't exist. If something can't exist, can't be physically existing within my hand right now. Now, if the Quran possesses a linguistic miracle that is impossible, it means the Quran can't exist. In which case, we are looking at a book that has features that supposedly doesn't exist, but still exists in the first place, which means the challenge is false. If it is the case that these features can exist and it's possible for a human to produce these features, therefore it means that someone can create a book like the Quran, in which case the challenge falls flat on its face.
My findings from trying to beat this with AI was...
you think ChatGPT is the...
It done well. It got 15. 15 is a high number in 10 words.
However, could you repeat to me what I just told you?
Yeah, I'm arguing the sex.
No, what did I tell you?
You said it's theoretically possible. So theoretically...
No, I said that.
My findings was... I was going to build on
you
what
agreed
just
that it's possible, right?
I'm building on what you just said. So my findings from AI was, AI told me theoretically it's possible to get more than 27, but I can't do it. It's impossible.
Yeah, that's the way large language models work. Do you know how large language models aren't
even
intelligent?
though theoretically you could, which is why God gave the challenge,
which defeats the exclusivity argument that the Quran challenge gives. The exclusivity argument that the Quran presents within itself is that the exclusive way that the Quran could be composed is through the impossible language features of the Quran itself. However, if there is a possibility for the contrary,
but you're stuck on the first.
if the possibility,
meaning
if
you
there is a possibility,
I give you the article. You can go home and verify what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And the lovely people at home could maybe understand. Article? Great, and then we can end this discussion.
No, there's more. There's more objectively verifiable evidence from Islam.
Well, it just seems like, unfortunately.
For example, the historical ones.
All right.
The historical ones. Have you heard of the Pharaoh weeping one?
Yeah, you're going to argue that the language used compared to the Bible is more historical, right? So like the Pharaoh being called the Pharaoh instead of the king.
No, that's the Joseph thing.
That's but look,
that one, you know.
It's a language device.
I'm not even going to go into that. I'm talking about
you actually think that's an argument?
Weeping.
Right. Yeah, I'm aware of the argument there.
What's that one?
I haven't really looked into it. You can present it.
So basically, God says, at the time of Pharaoh's death, he says, the earth neither weep for him, or the stars neither. The earth and the stars, none of them weep for him. Mm-hmm. And the scholars were looking at that verse thinking, what the hell is he talking about? Until the Rosetta Stone findings of the archaeological plinths. So they went to the sites of the burial grounds for the pharaohs. They found a massive plinth that says, the sky weeps for you, the ground shakes for you upon your death, O Pharaoh.
That just seems like a massive case.
Why would the Quran knows dead languages explanation?
That just seems like a massive confirmation bias.
It was a dead language.
No, this just seems like a massive case of
unknown knowledge.
No, this just seems like a massive case of confirmation bias.
You don't understand. You always have a problem with the conception. Like,
you understand that. Like if things that are commonly said about
like a high tier intellectual person, but
I would never say I'm smart. I was greatly privileged to be learned from other people.
What did you struggle to understand from what you said?
What I struggled is, it seems like, and again, this is the first time I've ever heard of this argument, that it's just a massive case of confirmation bias. That you're correlating two things that ultimately aren't proven to be linked with one another.
Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Plinth, Pharaoh's burial ground.
Yeah, and that's what Islam majorly does. It tries to argue for itself historical arguments that were just never there.
Is anyone struggling with understanding? Brother.
Well, if you want to appeal to the audience, I can do the same.
You're not following me, so I'm struggling.
Okay.
How can you find this?
Honestly, we've been discussing for the most part of the near
hour. The Quran says randomly, Pharaoh, upon your death,
because it's the
sky did not weep for you, the ground did not shake for you.
It's a common language of the Quran.
We find at the burial grounds of the pharaohs in a dead language that we can only translate today. That Muhammad's time was dead, unknown.
Right.
That the plinth for the burial grounds of the pharaohs says the sky shakes for you or weeps for you and the ground shakes for you upon your death, O Pharaoh. How the hell did the Quran know this information in a dead language in a different time zone?
It's the common language of the Quran to humanize objects such as the earth, stars, and planets.
The sky did not weep for you, the ground did not shake for you, Pharaoh.
That's the common language of the Quran.
This is the prayer people used to pray when a pharaoh dies.
This is the common language of the Quran.
We had no information on this.
Okay, it seems like a massive case, and I would need to look into this firstly. But this is sort of my instant response.
Why are you always rejecting it?
Because I'm always hypercritical of most things that are said about Islam. In all honesty,
but we're the only things, except for science, that has proof, objectively verifiable proof.
Opinions.
Well,
I am proving objectively verifiable. You can go home and verify.
Not objectively verifiable.
Scientific fact.
What happens
when something is objectively verifiable in science? That's called a fact.
What happens when you die?
My friend, I think largely. So look, I'll say this much. I feel like instinctually this just seems like an act of confirmation bias.
Do you think objectively verifiable things are opinions?
I think that.
I think you don't know what happens when you die.
Look, my friend, I will say this much. I don't know a refutation to this argument. However, I would say, hearing from what you've just said, without knowing about it,
two objectively verifiable things.
No, it's not. The first thing we had,
Scientific
the
facts.
first thing I gave to you was a dilemma that you couldn't resolve. The second thing was an argument that you gave, the dilemma of.
I remember giving you the objectively verifiable evidence.
No, so you gave the argument from the Quran within itself being an evidence for its divinity, and you said produce a book like the Quran. I said to you that if it possesses, I said to you there's a dilemma here. If the Quran possesses impossible language features, then the Quran can't possibly exist. If the Quran possibly exists, then hypothetically,
you don't understand. I swear to God,
I'm
you
not.
don't understand.
I'm not.
I'll give you the article.
Great.
I'll give you the article.
Oh, come on, don't read an article. Keep talking.
No, I'm for homework.
Homework, of course.
Look, you'll continue making any points.
Yeah, the dilemma for the argument is just simply that either the Quran impossibly possesses a language feature in which the Quran cannot exist, or the Quran does exist and possesses features that can exist, in which case a human can create a book like the Quran.
Okay. Sapiens Institute, yeah? Mm-hmm. This is where the article is.
What's Sapiens Institute?
Think tank, Muslim think tank.
A Muslim think tank.
Whatever, yeah. Produce one chapter like it is the article inside.
Great, I'll look into it.
Not a think tank, sorry, like...
But I feel like, firstly, I might have to go at some moment, so I think that should largely finish our discussion.
So, Sapiens Institute...
Yeah, I've heard of it before.
Produce one chapter like it.
Great.
They have the whole thing and why it's impossible for humans to copy this book.
Fantastic.
And that's one of the objective verifiable evidences.
Yeah.
By the way, ETW.
Great.
So instead of saying we are Christian and our evidence is Bible verses that that are debatable, it's better to have objectively verifiable evidence so you can actually have a conversation with the pagans.
Don't think you know what objective means, but however, pleasure speaking to you. What's your name, my friend?
This is why I gave to you articles you can verify. That's why it's objective.
What's your name, my friend?
Do you understand why it's objective?
No, because I would contend that would mean it's objectively true. I think that we mostly use these words in like debate spheres. Like,
if I say to you the sky is blue, is that objective or is that subjective? It's objective.
It's objectively true because we can view it.
Hot.
However, with the Quran,
not hot.
With the Quran challenge especially, you lead into this huge dilemma. Now, unfortunately, there are possibilities for a book like the Quran to be composed. However, this has been a very long and fruitful discussion.
Impossible.
It is not.
When you look at the research,
does the Quran exist?
You will realize why it's impossible.
Does the Quran exist?
It's the only thing in existence that is inimitable.
Okay. Does the Quran exist?
You're not understanding.
Okay, great. Does the Quran possess these language features?
Means
yes.
It exists, but it cannot be imitated.
Okay, great. So the claim is that it can't be imitated.
If no one can copy the Mona Lisa, then the Mona Lisa is a miracle.
Great.
Yes.
So you're saying that
Just
the
because
reason
the Mona Lisa exists and no one can copy it.
The reason why let's use the example of the Mona Lisa. So let's say an argument for the Mona Lisa being something that you cannot imitate is because of its exclusive features. Now, you're not arguing it for its exclusivity, but rather from its impossibility. Now, if you argue from its impossibility, it means it can't exist. If you say to me that the feature of the Mona Lisa is an impossible brushstroke, then that brushstroke can't exist. If there is an impossible language feature of the Quran,
can exist.
Okay,
it's a miracle.
If it can exist,
do you think God can't do miracles?
Okay, if it can exist, then there is a possibility for a human to create something like the Quran. Correct?
No, because no one can match the miracle.
Then the Quran can't exist.
Exactly. It shouldn't exist.
Okay, so the Quran does not exist.
That's why it's proof. Because it shouldn't exist is why it's proof that humans did not make it.
No, you're not understanding.
Do you follow the conclusion?
You're using the word
impossible exists.
You're using the word possibility a bit loosely.
The impossibility exists in the physical world. That's why it's proof that humans did not make it.
You're using the word possible a bit loosely here.
If Mona Lisa had a brushstroke that was impossible, then it would not be human.
No, it just wouldn't exist. What do you think impossible means? something that can't exist?
This guy is just
Exactly.
arguing, but I'll leave it there.
Appreciate it, my
nice.
friend.
It was nice to chat to you, man.
Good sport, God bless you.
Well, that was a.
What happened there, young
Yeah.
Bob?
But so,
What happened there, young Bob?
you know, off the kind of cusp of me discussing the dilemma of can you produce a book like the Quran, I kind of made this dilemma of if there is an impossible feature within the Quran, the Quran cannot exist, but does exist, which means the language features within the Quran can possibly exist, in which case someone can create a book like the Quran. The other argument from the weeping Pharaoh I've not really come across, and I'll be honest, I'll look into it and, you know, at some point when I'm free, give a response to it. The other one on incest and abortion. These are two things that I think we can just observe from the consequences, what Christ says is the fruits, and we can determine its moral value. So in the case of incest, you have a high cause of deformities, therefore it's wrong. In the case of abortion, you're ending an innocent human life. I think there was a huge issue when it surrounds the communication of the discussion at hand. I think it's unfortunate that a lot of the times it kind of led astray in terms of insulting one another. However, I think it was something that we could both get behind, and it was quite fruitful.
Well done, young Bob. Any message to the family? How they can find you? What you're doing at the moment? How they can reach you, support you?
I'm largely planning to make Turning Point UK an organisation that has different chapters across the United Kingdom. I think that it's very healthy to promote the free market of ideas, and will very much keep it on side with the Christian faith.